My name is Chloe, aka Moonrays, and I am going to do my first video today. So I kind of just want to go over a few of the reptiles that I have and maybe show you guys them. The first one that I have is going to be my 2.5, almost 3-year-old leopard gecko named Mizu. I named her after the Blue-Eyed Samurai on Netflix. Absolutely love that show. I'm sorry about my voice. It's a little bit cracky today. I think I have like a little bit of a hay fever kind of going on, so just ignore that. I have them in 20 gallons at the moment. I definitely plan on sizing them up. I'm wanting to set up bioactive enclosures for the both of them. Of course, setting up a bioactive enclosure is going to take a little bit of time, just so that way I can make sure the isopod and the springtail population is actually picking up, because Mizu would probably eat them. I think I'm gonna go over just my leopard gecko today. Decide that, yeah, I like to have a leopard gecko. You'll have a little bit more information on them. So yeah, I'll go ahead and get her out and kind of go over some care for her. All right, so this is my leopard gecko Mizu. She is a Murphy's spotless or patternless, not spotless, sorry, morph. So she doesn't have like the typical spotting that you see on a leopard gecko. I got her from Repticon from a private breeder, and she has been the best leopard gecko I have ever owned in my life. She is very sweet and she enjoys head pats and love, and she's a cutie. I love her so much. So as you can see, I really like her coloration though. She's got a little bit of like kind of like a green. The camera doesn't pick it up very good, but through there, and then she has a very fat tail, which is a good sign of a healthy leopard gecko. You always want their tail to be fat, never thin. This is where they store all of their fat, is in their tail. If they ever drop their tail, that can be a very serious condition. You'll definitely want to take them to the vet and make sure that we are feeding every day, because a lot of times they can recover from it, sometimes they don't. So you never want to scare them and have them drop it. I've gotten Mizu kind of used to like me touching her back and touching her tail, so like she's like kind of used to it. But she's a cutie. Sorry about that. It's kind of gross. Sorry, I had to put my glasses on too. I couldn't really see anymore. But she's super sweet. So I feed her, she gets gut-loaded insects. That is another thing. Leopard geckos are strictly insectivores, so they will only eat insects. Please do not try to feed your leopard gecko anything freeze-dried. So no freeze-dried mealworms, Dubai roaches, anything like that, just because those things are not going to be very high in nutrition. I mean, a lot of times your pets are going to become malnourished if that is all they are eating. Along with if they are eating the pellets. These guys will not touch pellets. I know there's some big chains out there that carry pellets for reptiles. They will not eat them. No. So Mizu mainly gets crickets at the moment. I do like to give her a mix of crickets and Dubai roaches, just because the Dubai roaches are a little bit easier from a process. They are a little bit more expensive though. But crickets are a great alternative as well. They're very high in protein, very low in fat. So you really want to be high in protein. She does get mealworms as a treat as well. Mealworms are only good as treats, or if you're in a pinch and you need to feed them something immediately, then you can do a mealworm. They are very high in fat and not in protein, so I do not recommend feeding that long term. Your gecko can become malnourished if that's all you're feeding them is mealworms. But she is super sweet. So she is also only active during the dawn and dusk. I'm trying to think of the word. Crepuscular. I'll think of it and I'll include it here, the word that I'm looking for, because I can't think of it on the top of my head. And of course, the one time I need to know it. So she's only more active at dawn and dusk. So I kind of have her up right now just for the video. She was just kind of wandering around in her cage anyway, so but yeah. So I also have her, like I said, getting a 20-gallon long. As you notice, I do have loose substrate in there. So 𝐵𝐲 is a full-grown leopard gecko. She's less likely to experience impaction with the mix that I have in there. So she has it's almost like an 60, so like 60%, or sorry, not 60, 70% I use eco earth or eco soil. Then 20% of it I use Repti sand or play sand that you can get off Amazon. And then the 10% I use sphagnum moss. Sphagnum moss is good at hiding moisture. These guys don't need a lot of moisture. You want their humidity to really be around 30%. And then their heat and stuff, you want it to be kind of in the 90s. On the cooler side, you want it to be like in the high 70s, kind of lower 80s. And then at night, it can drop down to like 68. So for these guys, I also include a heat mat in there because they use a lot of underbelly heat. So she gets a heat mat on top of her bulb and her light that she has. I can also try to include a few bulb recommendations that I recommend for leopard geckos right here, as soon as I can edit them in. And I also am going to, she's like going crazy. I'm also going to try to include a good amount of pictures of 𝐵𝐲 when 𝐵𝐲 was a baby. 𝐵𝐲 is definitely bigger than the size she was whenever I bought her, because she was very small. She was just a baby. But she's super sweet. She gives kisses. She's like super lovey, and she's never bit me. So I don't expect her to, but if she did, it's probably my fault. But she's never bit me. She's super, if I could recommend a starter pet, I would recommend 𝐵𝐲, genuinely. Go back to like the feeding thing. Sorry, I kind of go all over the place. So you'll want to feed them, of course, gut-loaded insects. You can also, you want to make sure that you're dusting. So 𝐵𝐲 gets about 8 to 12 crickets, give or take. Sometimes she eats more, sometimes she eats less, 3 times a week. And she will get calcium dust and a Repti vitamin every other feeding. So I do calcium with D3 on her dustings, along with a Reptivite that is without D3. So she gets her crickets dusted every other feeding. I usually, if I'm feeding her Dubai roaches or mealworms, I usually pull her out of her enclosure and have her eat outside of it, just so I can make sure that we've eaten everything and these bugs are not annoying her in her cage by still being alive. And also, I don't want the mealworms to turn into beetles. I love her, genuinely. She's like the best gecko I've ever had. So I can show you guys what I kind of dust with. I'll put her up in a second, but I'll go ahead and let you guys see her again. She's super cute, super sweet. I love her. All right, I will be back. All right, so I put 𝐵𝐲 back in her cage. She's probably gonna go take a nap or rest. So this is the calcium that I use for her. I just use the Zoo-Med Repti calcium with D3. This is what she gets on her her gut-loaded insects every other feeding. And then she also gets, if I can get pulled up here, she gets the, it's also, I think, Zoo-Med, yeah. It's the Reptivite, and it is without D3. I mix both of those on there. I give them with D3 because if you do not provide your reptiles with calcium, they can get metabolic, I can't pronounce it right now. They can get bone disease. They can get bone disease that is going to cause them a lot of pain and cause their bones to become brittle and easily broken, and can even cause them to twist up. So you definitely want to make sure that you're dusting every other feeding. So she gets this, and she gets this on her crickets. Now, in her enclosure, she has a little dish in there that I keep full of this, which is the Repti calcium without D3. So she can go and eat this whenever she feels like she's low on calcium, and it's kind of free range, so she will go and eat it. But I keep a small bowl of this in her tank so she can have it. Sorry about my voice. I don't know why I'm losing my voice so bad. I don't normally sound like that. Anyways, and then this is ReptiSafe. I put this in her water. I try to use distilled water or purified water, but I also go ahead and add this in there too, just to be on the safe side. It's really good for them, and it's a water conditioner. It just keeps the tap water safe and dechlorinated. So that's about all that I use for feeding her, besides the live insects themselves. Going back to like her cage and stuff there, I do have her on a loose substrate, which leopard geckos, where their bodies are so low, they can be prone to impaction. The mix that I have in there is a pretty good mix that it's a very low risk of impaction if she has it. And I've noticed that she's a lot happier on loose substrates. I'm going to take these off because of the glare. I realize that she is a lot happier on loose substrates. Her colors have really come out. She can forage and explore, and she's got somewhere comfy to lay. Like, I've noticed that she's a lot happier on the loose substrate. Now, when she was a baby, I kept her on paper towels strictly, just so I could monitor her bathroom habits and everything there. I've slowly sized up my geckos too. I started Mizu in a 10-gallon. She's now in a 20-gallon, and I will size her up to a 40. I started her in a 10-gallon, and that's perfectly fine to start a baby leopard gecko in a 10-gallon, as long as you are going to size up afterwards. The 10-gallon that I kept her in was just so I could monitor her bowel movements, her shed, everything like that, make sure she was eating, those kinds of things in a small area. So that way I knew that she was healthy and she's fine, and we didn't have to go to the vet. So, does have loose substrate now because she's an adult. I do not recommend giving them any kind of loose substrate until they are an adult, at least. If you guys don't want to do a mix like what I did, you can also do tiles. I've seen people do that, and it's worked really well for them. Just to kind of keep it, and I've seen people use paper towels. If you want to do that, it's an easy cleanup method. Not very aesthetically pleasing, but and I genuinely don't think that the geckos like it as much, but that's my opinion. If you guys want to do something different, you totally can. The only thing that I'm like, you do not want to do is do not put any loose substrate in there, though, when they are a baby, because they are such a high risk of impaction. Whenever they're smaller, impaction is where they will go to try to grab their food, and they'll get a mouthful of like sand and dirt, and then it will go into their digestive tract, and their body cannot digest it, so they get packed. Like, it gets packed in there, and they can't digest it, and it usually ends up killing them. The only way to get that removed is you usually have to take them to a vet to have it surgically removed. So make sure you don't put them on loose substrate when they're smaller. But other than that, she's pretty happy. I also keep 2 hides. Actually, I keep 3 hides in her enclosure. There's one that's in the middle, one that's off to the left side where her heat mat and her heat lamp is, and then one that is off to the right side. The right side one is for her cooler side, so that way she can go down there if she feels like she's getting too hot. Her other hide that she has, which I will include a picture of the one that I bought. It's by 𝐂𝐡𝐥𝐿. I really like it. She really likes it. And it's easy to mist, in my opinion. Is a humid hide. Leopard geckos do need at least one humidity hide in their enclosure. So that way whenever they are shedding, they can go to it to kind of help get that shed off. It's very humid. I keep sphagnum moss in mine, and I mist it. Try to do it 2 times a day, sometimes only once a day, depending on how wet the sphagnum moss is. I do have to change that almost weekly, because a lot of times, if you keep it very moisture, you can get mold buildup and stuff, and you definitely don't want that for your lizard. So make sure that you are spot cleaning it or cleaning it altogether if you notice any signs whatsoever of it. But I keep her humidity hide under her heat lamp, so that way it'll continue to get humid. Plus she has that heat mat there. And like I said, in the middle, I do have another hide that she can go to. So she has a gradient temperature range that she can decide, oh, I'm too hot, I'm gonna go over here. I'm too cold, I'm gonna go over here. So that's how I recommend to do it. Super good first reptile pet, in my opinion, is a leopard gecko. They're so sweet and smart, and if you handle them, you just have to make sure that you're handling them every day and to get them used to you. They are the best. The best. I love them so much. I'll probably get more in the future. I definitely plan on getting some more reptiles later on as well. But anyways, I think that's all for the video. If I didn't cover anything, definitely let me know in the comments and I'll try to answer them. And if you have any questions, or if you want me to do a more in-depth video on like her enclosure or things like that, let me know. If you guys enjoyed this, please like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you.